Chapter 22:11. The little monk looked at the check in his hand and was stunned by the amount on it. Although there were many rich businessmen here, it was the first time he saw a $5 million check. It was also the first time he received a $5 million check. He was so shocked that he didn't know what to do and forgot to call Tang Yunfeng. And at this moment, the sound of hurried footsteps could be heard from inside. Only then did the little monk react. Just as he was about to say something, the footsteps were already nearing him. When he saw the person, he didn't know what to say. Abbot, why are you here? Since an important guest is here, I should personally receive him. When Huiguang saw Tang Yunfeng, his eyes lit up. When he saw the amount on the check in the little monk's hand, he was even more convinced of the dream he had last night. Sure enough, Buddha had appeared and asked him to enlighten Tang Yunfeng, a great philanthropist. He gave $5 million right away, as long as he could make Tang Yunfeng care about his body and move to the mountain to recuperate. Then this great philanthropist would be able to live a long life and benefit the world. To him, it was also a merit. Tang Yunfeng also felt it. Huiguang looked at him with a very eager and excited expression. Benefactor Tang, please come in. Since the abbot came to personally receive him, Tang Yunfeng naturally wouldn't refuse. Moreover, he rarely heard that Huiguang would personally come out to receive someone. In that case, he might really be fated with this place. The reason why he chose to donate $5 million was because he had two considerations. First, he admired Huiguang's way of doing things. Second, it was naturally because of his precious daughter. He was praying for his daughter, hoping that this Buddha, who didn't even know if he existed, would bless his daughter. Tang Gua felt Huiguang's eagerness when he looked at Tang Yunfeng, and found it funny. At the same time, she had a better impression of Huiguang. In the dream, she portrayed Tang Yunfeng as a great philanthropist. However, this great philanthropist might not have many years left to live. Because of his early death, the things he should have done in his later years to benefit the world were put on hold. Furthermore, the money in his hands was taken by evil people. Huiguang was originally a warm-hearted person. When he sensed all of this in the dream, he was extremely anxious and wanted to wake Tang Yunfeng up. Fortunately, the dream later told him what to do. In the dream, someone told him that Tang Yunfeng would bring his daughter up today. Huiguang thought that Tang Yunfeng would arrive at noon. He didn't expect him to arrive so soon. Fortunately, he had already arranged for someone to keep watch outside, so he hurried out. He didn't know whether the dream was real or not, so he didn't tell anyone else about it. He didn't want to play around with that kind of unfathomable mystery. After all, he was a very down-to-earth monk. Huiguang invited Tang Yunfeng and Tang Gua in, and left the others outside. Tang Gua was still carrying the sleeping white cat Qiu Qiu in her arms. Huiguang glanced at the cat and said, "Your beloved cat is quite intelligent." Tang Yunfeng just smiled and said that this was Tang Gua's favorite pet. She was willing to take it with her wherever she went. Seeing that Huiguang didn't mind, he liked it even more. When they reached the side room, Huiguang said, "Benefactor Tang, do you know why I was so anxious just now?" Tang Yunfeng didn't understand, and exchanged glances with Tang Gua. Tang Gua looked confused. Of course, she couldn't say that she knew all of this, and that she was the one who did it. Huiguang didn't keep them in suspense and said directly, "Last night I had a dream, the peak." Chapter 22:12. After Tang Yunfeng listened to Huiguang's dream, he also felt that it was magical. Could it be that fate really existed in this world? Otherwise, how would Huiguang know that his health was not good? In fact, the outside world rarely knew about his poor health. The reason why he chose a son-in-law was because his beloved daughter's situation was no longer able to support all the companies under the name of Family Tang. He wanted to find a trustworthy person to take care of his daughter and his painstaking efforts. Who would have thought that Tang Yunfeng, who looked energetic and healthier than the average person, would not live for more than a few years? Master Huiguang means that I have a chance to live a long life? Tang Yunfeng was naturally willing to live a little longer. He was actually not at ease no matter who his daughter was handed over to. It was better to take care of her himself. If he could live a little longer, even if his daughter got married in the future, with him around, His son-in-law would not dare to do anything out of line. Yes. Hui Guang smiled and nodded. As long as benefactor Tang is willing to move to the mountain to recuperate, living a long life is not a problem. In the end, he added, at least that's the case in the dream. I see that benefactor Tang is also very reluctant to leave this world. Why not give it a try? Tang Yinfeng was indeed a little tempted, although moving to the mountain would inevitably mean giving up some things. The development of the company would not be like before, where they could rampage and develop at a rapid speed. However, the company was filled with his confidence. Everything would definitely be in his hands. There would not be any mistakes. As for Qin Ting, he could be considered to trust him and could take over to do these things. Dad, why don't you move here? Tang Gua took the opportunity to grab Tang Yunfeng's arm. I hope you can always be with me. She looked at Hui Guang again. If what Master Hui Guang said is true, then we must donate more money in the future. She had already bragged about being a great philanthropist. In the future, she would definitely instigate Tang Yunfeng to donate more money to Master Hui Guang's temple. Anyway, she would not have any descendants. Her father probably did not plan to have any more children. Moreover, with the condition of his body, it was a miracle to have her as his daughter. Even if he wanted to, there was no way. As for Qin Ting's words, she had never thought of giving him a single cent. Family Tang's things could only be family Tang's. Even if she donated it, she would not give it to him. In the future, when they were no longer in this world, they would donate the family's property. If Master Hui Guang was still alive, they would donate it to him. Wouldn't this prove that Tang Yinfeng was a great philanthropist? However, if Tang Yinfeng was here, she didn't know if the matter between Qin Ting and Bai Ruyue would change. She didn't want to change this. She narrowed her eyes slightly. Fortunately, she had created many taboos in her dream last night. Dad, what are you still thinking about? Are you going to leave me? Tang Yinfeng really couldn't stand Tang Gua's gaze. He really couldn't bear to leave his daughter alone in this world. He didn't know if a little girl like her would be bullied after he left. Xiaogua, I promise you, okay? However, this is not a small matter. We still need to make a lot of arrangements. At this moment, Grandmaster Hui Guang was also somewhat happy. He hesitated for a moment before saying, however, he also told me about many taboos in the dream. What taboos? Tang Yinfeng was somewhat curious. He was skeptical about this matter. However, he was holding on to a dead horse as if it were still alive. If it could prolong his life, then he would have profited. You have to come back after 2 years. Peak. Chapter 22:13. Master Hui Guang touched his beard. Although he did not know why, the voice in his dream told him so. Anyway, he could see that Tang Yinfeng did not want to leave this world. He saw that Tang Yinfeng would be a good man in the future, and did not want him to die. Even if he wasn't a great philanthropist, after Tang Yinfeng survived the calamity, he would still donate incense and money to the temple in the future. Just by moving his mouth, he would be able to obtain benefits. Hui Guang felt that this deal was a sure win. When the time came, he would be able to do many things. Tang Yinfeng saw that Hui Guang was so serious, and he believed him a little more. He said, well, these 2 years are enough for me to prepare. If I really fall ill in 2 years, then I'll ask someone to send me to the temple. Not only that, but you also have to announce that you will no longer be in charge of the company in the future. This was not difficult for Tang Yinfeng. He did not care on the surface, but couldn't he care behind the scenes? Hui Guang saw Tang Yunfeng's expression and said in a low voice, you really can't manage it. This is related to the villain who harmed your company in your dream. If you keep managing the company, even if it's in the dark, the villain won't dare to show up. How can you get rid of this problem? Tang Yunfeng's eyelids twitched. Was it so serious? Tang Gua supported her chin and touched the white cat on her leg with one hand. She was so happy that she was going crazy. She just made up some stories casually. She did not expect that these stories would come from Hui Guang's mouth. She almost believed it. This master's mouth was really convincing. No wonder people were convinced. Many rich businessmen and big shots were very polite to him. Tang Yinfeng was also guessing. Was there really someone who secretly wanted to take over his family Tang company? In retrospect, he thought it was normal. Who would not be jealous of the family business that he, Tang Yunfeng, had built up? He thought that if he really died in a few years, although Qin Ting was smart, he was still young. He would definitely not be able to outsmart those cunning old guys. It would be normal for him to be killed. Then his daughter would be pitiful. Thinking of this, Tang Yunfeng nodded, indicating that he could accept it. Since Hui Guang had said so much and asked him to ignore it for the time being, there must be a backup plan. So he asked, after you don't care, you can't just ignore it forever, right? The next step is to wait. As long as the traitor surfaces and benefactor Tang is still alive, wouldn't you be able to turn the tide? By that time, benefactor Tang's body will have almost recovered. That's what he told me in his dream. In fact, the corner of Hui Guang's mouth was twitching a little. If he always told his customers things from his dreams, would they say that he was a liar and a big liar? However, Tang Yunfeng didn't think too much about it, because Hui Guang knew too much. In addition, he also wanted to take a gamble. Just as Hui Guang said, if he really fell ill in 2 years, then he would live on the mountain. At the same time, he really didn't care about the company's affairs. When the traitor appeared, he would clean up the mess. If everything in the dream came true, then he could believe it. Even if the company would suffer a lot of losses, at least he, Tang Yunfeng, would be alive. He would be able to protect his daughter. It was better than his daughter being heartless. Qin Ting was young and inexperienced. If he was harmed, his daughter would be alone and helpless. How would he know that the villain was Qin Ting? It's been hard on the host to set up this trap. If everything didn't happen, Qin Ting would have learned a lot by his father's side. In the future, he might have a good life. I can't bear to see him living a good life and being in love with Bai Ruyue. So it's better to let everything happen. The system hesitated. What if Qin Ting doesn't betray you in the future? Idiot, you're daydreaming again. I didn't use the dream creation spell on you yesterday, right? System. Tang Yunfeng bid farewell to Grandmaster Hui Guang. Half a year later, he donated another 5 million to the temple. Grandmaster Hui Guang took the 5 million and gritted his teeth. In the end, he asked someone to build a small courtyard for Tang Yunfeng. There shouldn't be a problem for a good person to live in a better place, right? Peak. Chapter 22:14. In the following time, Tangwa didn't change the scope and habits of the original owner. The lessons of the original owner were relatively simple for her. But she still slowly learned, and wasn't in a hurry to show off. She was afraid that if she showed off too well, her father would change his mind. Seeing her skillful appearance, he might give up on training Qin Ting, and give everything to her. As for her body, it was already slowly recuperating. Although she still looked thin and weak on the surface and her face was pale, she was still very healthy. As for her legs, they were seriously injured before. It was already fortunate that they weren't amputated. As for standing up again, it was impossible with the medical standards of this world. Even if she had a way to stand up, she would think of a way to stand up in these 2 years. Then Qin Ting wouldn't have to play in the family Tang anymore. How could she find fault with him? Qin Ting would take some time every week to accompany her to the garden of the manor to bask in the sun, and would also push her to the lake for a walk. He would often bring some small toys back for her. He didn't show too much eagerness, nor did he show too much coldness. In short, people could feel his concern. After the original owner's accident, she had less and less contact with people. In the end, she was still young and was still a child. How could she know that people's hearts were complicated? Even if Qin Ting was honest enough, his current actions were not without his own calculations. It was impossible for Tang Yunfeng not to know this, but he had no choice in the past. Tangwa calculated the time. It had been more than a year since they went to find Master Hui Guang. There was still half a year before they would witness the miracle. In order to make things come true, she didn't help Tang Yunfeng adjust his body for more than a year. As for the pills, she had already prepared them. This was a kind of pill that slowly adjusted the body. It wouldn't be done overnight. It would only accumulate over time, so that people wouldn't notice anything unusual. In the future, when Tang Yunfeng recovers, everyone would only think that the temple had taken care of him, and he would live a long life. Presumably at that time, Master Huiguang would be very happy. According to the original plot, when Tang Yunfeng felt that his body wasn't good, he would arrange for her to marry Qin Ting at the age of 18. She didn't know what Tang Yunfeng would do this time. She had never thought of marrying Qin Ting. Although she said that she didn't want to change the original plot, she had to let everyone know that Qin Ting was the family Tang's future son-in-law and her boyfriend. She believed that the attraction between the male lead and the female lead was very strong. If the male lead could get married, then having a girlfriend would be a piece of cake. Tang Yunfeng had actually been thinking about this problem recently. There was still half a year before he would know whether Master Huiguang's dream was real or not. If he really fell ill at this time, then he would follow Master Huiguang's instructions and retire to the mountains. For the time being, he would not care about all the companies under his name. In that case, he had to hire someone to help him manage it. Now that he had the chance to live a long life, Tang Yunfeng naturally wouldn't be in a hurry to marry off his daughter. Even if this person was Qin Ting, who he had raised single-handedly, it was still impossible. Qin Ting didn't seem to like his baby very much. At most, he had a good impression of her. In addition, he had his own motives. This kind of marriage was actually a kind of compromise. Vertex. Chapter 22:15. Qin Ting's ability was not bad. In the past 2 years, he could not nurture a new person at all. As for the shareholders of the company, he could not let his property fall into their hands. He did not know what would happen in a few years if he handed it over to those cunning people. Master Huiguang said that the villain would take all his property in the future. He was not sure if there was a mole in the company. If he handed the company directly to this mole, wouldn't he be sending meat to the other party's mouth? In the end, Tang Yunfeng decided to hand the company over to Qin Ting. Qin Ting had been nurtured by him for several years. As long as there were no problems with the general direction of the company, the other party should be able to manage it well. Besides, all the shares were in his hands. He had also thought of all kinds of emergency countermeasures. He was not afraid that Qin Ting would make any waves. Even if the worst result was that something happened to the company, as long as he, Tang Yunfeng, could live to 100 years old, he had accumulated a lot of wealth over the years. It would not be a problem for him to make a comeback. In the face of life and death, Tang Yunfeng had seen through it very clearly. Living was more important than anything. As long as he could live, he would definitely protect his little princess well. Even if he could not live to 100 years old, he had thought of another countermeasure. Although he did not plan to let Tang Gua and Qin Ting get married when she was 18 years old, they could still get engaged. If they got engaged first, if he survived this disaster and his body recovered, it would be easy to change anything in the future. If he did not survive, his daughter and Qin Ting would be engaged. Their relationship would be announced to the public, and he would also make a will. All the property would be his daughter's, which was in line with his original idea. Originally, he had planned to give Qin Ting some shares. Now that he was not going to die, he would not give it to him for the time being. If the other party could really treat Xiaogua wholeheartedly in the future, it was not impossible to give him some benefits. It was not that he was reluctant, but he did not want to feed the meat bun to the white-eyed dog. He always remembered that people's hearts could change. That was why he was always worried about what his precious daughter would do if he left in the future. Then, let him take a gamble now. A few days later, Tang Guo was pushed by Tang Yunfeng to take a walk in the garden. As for the time being, he rarely went to the company recently. It could be considered as an opportunity for Qin Ting to gain experience. He had to let Qin Ting get used to the time when he was not in the company. Xiaogua, there are still 5 months before the time that Master Huiguang mentioned. Dad, are you ready on your side? Everything has been arranged. Whether it was the way forward or the way back, he had already arranged everything. You're already 17. If it's really like what Master Huiguang said, how about you and Qin Tingxian get engaged? Tang Yunfeng's idea was within Tang Guo's expectation. Tang Yunfeng also wanted to take a gamble. Therefore, this engagement was very manipulative and flexible. Not only would he tie Qin Ting to the family, but he would also be able to live a long life in the future. If Qin Ting was sincere to his precious daughter, he would definitely let the two of them get married. If Qin Ting was not sincere enough, then his little princess did not need such a man. Tang Yunfeng thought that this idea was quite good, but he could not say this to his daughter. Qin Ting is an outstanding child. You are both still young. Now that he is able to take charge of things on his own, he needs a more formal identity. Dad is old, so there has to be someone to help manage the company. Peak. Chapter 22:16. Qin Ting is young and capable, but he doesn't have enough experience. If he's Xiaoguo's fiancé, it's only right for him to help Dad manage the company. When Tang Yunfeng said this, Qin Ting happened to walk over from the flowers. When he heard Tang Yunfeng's decision, surprise flashed in his eyes, but at the same time he understood. No wonder the other party had handed over some very important things to him recently. It turned out that his health was not good. Thinking of this, Qin Ting's brows showed some worry. He quickly walked to Tang Guo and Tang Yunfeng's side and greeted them before asking, "Uncle Tang, have you been feeling unwell recently?" "It's nothing. I'm just a little tired occasionally." Tang Yunfeng laughed and said. Ever since he came back from Master Huiguang's place, he had not talked to Tang Guo about the temple at all. As an old monster in the business world, it was impossible for him to discuss Qin Ting's faults on any occasion, even in his study room. Therefore, even if he did not completely trust Qin Ting, or rather, he did not trust people, he would not point it out. If he let Qin Ting manage the company, he would only use the excuse that his health was not good and Qin Ting was not bad. In this way, not only would Qin Ting be grateful, but there would also be no gap between them. The relationship between people was complicated and simple. One must not show suspicion. Even if one did not trust him, one had to show full trust. Otherwise, it would be easy to confuse people and lose their hearts. Tang Yunfeng's prediction was right. At this moment, Qin Ting did feel a little warm in his heart. He did not expect Tang Yunfeng to trust him so much. It could be said that if Tang Yunfeng had not pulled him up, he would still be in some corner being bullied by others. Therefore, when he knew that Tang Yunfeng's health was not good, he was really worried. At this time, Qin Ting was only in his early 20s. His life experience was simple, and his mind could be considered simple. With a sincere heart, who would have thought of what would happen in the future? Uncle Tang, take good care of your body. No matter what, your health is the most important. If Uncle Tang's health is good, I'm willing to be Uncle Tang's right-hand man. Qin Ting's words were sincere. It was not a complicated matter for him to use the family Tang's power to deal with his enemies. As long as he defeated the other party in business, it could be considered revenge. Of course, these things had to be done slowly and could not be rushed. Tang Yunfeng smiled and nodded. You heard what I said to Xiaoguo just now, right? I want to get you engaged next month. Xiaoguo will be 18 next year. You are still young, so don't worry about getting married. You can also take charge of things on your own. But your current identity will indeed make many shareholders dissatisfied and insecure. What I'm thinking is that since you're engaged to Xiaoguo, there are some things that you can do freely. Of course, if you're not willing, I won't force you. Tang Yunfeng was also speaking from the bottom of his heart. Qin Ting's ability was not bad, and he admired it very much. Even if he wasn't his son-in-law in the future, he still hoped that Qin Ting could work in the company. Qin Ting was young and capable. His future was limitless. It would be good for the company if he stayed. Qin Ting clenched his fists, then looked at Tang Guo and said in a low voice, I don't have any objections. I just don't know if Xiaoguo is willing. In the face of such a huge temptation, who could resist it? Qin Ting agreed to this matter. Firstly, it was because of the hatred in his heart. Secondly, he believed that he could keep his promise and take good care of Tang Guo in this life. So he agreed with a clear conscience. Peak. Chapter 22:17. Tang Guo naturally nodded happily. Qin Ting had always understood that the little princess of the family Tang had liked him for a long time, and she liked him very much. Seeing Tang Guo nod in agreement, he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Tang Yunfeng was right. He really needed a legitimate identity. Without this identity, He really couldn't do many things freely. Even if he was capable, he didn't have enough qualifications. Then, he would be a member of the family Tang, and the shareholders wouldn't have any objections. They thought that no matter what he did, it was related to the family Tang, and there was a guarantee there. After Tang Yunfeng confirmed it again and again, the two agreed to the engagement. Tang Guo's purpose was naturally to let Qin Ting have an identity that couldn't be washed clean. In the future, it would be interesting if he cheated on her as the fiancé of the family Tang's eldest daughter. Qin Ting wanted to use this identity to do more things. He had never thought of waiting for death. Another reason was that he guessed that Tang Yunfeng might not live for more than a few years. That was why he was so anxious, so he took the opportunity to agree. Of course, he wouldn't be disappointed if Tang Yunfeng lived a little longer. With a backer, the chances of revenge in the future would be higher. Therefore, before he met his true love, even if Qin Ting had some motives, his heart wasn't too bad, and he didn't grow biased. He was sincere to Tang Yunfeng and Tang Guo. System. Host, if you are engaged, and Qin Ting and the female lead miss each other, let's not talk about whether there is such a possibility, and he won't do those betrayals again. What will you do? What else can I do? Of course, I'll find an excuse to cancel the engagement, let him contribute to the company, and let Dad donate money to charity. After all, I've already bragged to Master Hui Guang in his dream, so I can't let the old man down. If Qin Ting misses the female lead, then he will work hard to make money to atone for his sins. I have ways to make him work hard to make money. System, forget it. Anyway, I'll make Qin Ting work hard. But do you think it's possible? It was because Tang Guo believed that the attraction between the male and female lead would cause her to dare to say these words so easily. Because the system's if was impossible. What was meant to be encountered would eventually be encountered. If Qin Ting could still control himself, and not make any mistakes, that would truly be admirable. However, the chances of that happening were almost zero, because she had seen it too many times. Her little Tongzi was still as naive as before. Recently, everyone knew that Tang Guo and Qin Ting were going to be engaged. The engagement would be held next month, and the invitations had been sent out. Tang Yunfeng planned to personally arrange some things about the engagement. Of course, Qin Ting was also busy with the company's affairs while running up and down with Tang Yunfeng. Tang Guo, on the other hand, had another hobby, painting. Su Qing helped Tang Guo tidy up the studio. Seeing that all the drawings on the paper were of the white cat at home, he was a little speechless. It was good that Miss had more hobbies, but why did she draw cats every day? Miss, I think the flowers in the garden are very beautiful. Why don't you draw some flowers today? Tang Guo glanced at the white ball on the bed and nodded. Okay, let's go to the garden to draw flowers. She also wanted to draw some other things. If she kept drawing cats, Su Qing would probably vomit. When they arrived at the garden, Su Qing helped Tang Guo set up the drawing board, and then stood to one side to watch Tang Guo draw. However, after watching for a while, he became absent-minded. Suddenly Su Qing was in a daze. He discovered that other than the beautiful flowers on the drawing board, there was actually the top. Chapter 22:18. Su Qing didn't expect that there would be a lazy white cat lying in the most conspicuous spot among the flowers. It was very conspicuous. She really had nothing to say about this. She could only stare at the cat. The white cat seemed to have sensed something. It raised its eyelids slightly, lazily glanced at her, and crazily wagged its tail at her. It was different from a dog wagging its tail to show intimacy. Su Qing obviously knew that the cat was warning her. If she dared to do anything bad again, it would come over and attack her. Su Qing couldn't take it anymore. She clutched her chest. Oh my God, this cat had turned into a spirit. It was actually showing off in front of her. Tang Guo giggled. If there were only flowers on my drawing board, it would indeed be a little monotonous. Qiu ran to that spot and drew it on the drawing board. Aren't the flowers and the white cat a good match? Su Qing took a look. It was true. If there were only flowers, this drawing seemed to be missing something. With the addition of a white cat sleeping on its stomach, the entire painting seemed to come alive. Although Su Qing felt that the white cat was a little shameless, and wanted to steal the limelight everywhere. She had to admit that this was the finishing touch. Although Su Qing was just a helper, she had actually graduated from a top university. She was in charge of taking care of Tanggua, so she naturally had to understand everything. Otherwise, when Tanggua said that she wanted a book, she could find a Chinese version. If it was an English version, she wouldn't be able to do it if she didn't have a bit of education. Other people might not believe it if she said it, but Su Qing's annual salary and bonus were over $1 million. In order to take care of Tanggua, Tang Yunfeng hired elites. How could they be ordinary people? Later, Tanggua listened to Su Qing's suggestion and drew other things. But what made Su Qing depressed was that when she drew other things, why did the white cat always steal the limelight? Even when she was drawing a portrait of Tang Yunfeng, the cat would reach out a snow-white paw and leave a mark on Tanggua's drawing board to show that it also had a place here. When Tang Yunfeng saw the paw in the corner of his portrait, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But he wasn't unhappy. Instead, he felt that the white cat's existence could make his daughter so happy. A month later, Tanggua and Enchanting were officially engaged. There were even reporters coming to interview them. Even on social media forums, there was a lot of discussion about the engagement between Enchanting and the little princess of family Tang. In short, Tanggua achieved her goal. She and Enchanting were engaged, and it was widely known. A few months later, the day that Master Hui Guang spoke of arrived. That day, Tang Yunfeng went to the company in good spirits. When Tanggua received the news, Tang Yunfeng was already lying in the hospital. She hurriedly went to see Tang Yunfeng and saw that his face had turned ugly. This illness really came at the drop of a hat. Fortunately, Tang Yunfeng was prepared. Even if he suddenly fainted and was sent to the hospital, there was no trouble. After feeding Tang Yunfeng the medicine, Tanggua gave him a transparent candy. Daddy is already so old. Although the medicine is a little bitter, I can still swallow it. I don't need to eat candy like a child. Dad, eat it. I've already peeled off the candy wrapper. Tang Yunfeng naturally wouldn't refuse his daughter's kindness. He put the transparent candy in his mouth. As soon as he put it in his mouth, it melted in a short while. At that time, Tang Yunfeng did feel that his mouth didn't cry. There was a faint special feeling. He only attributed this to the sweetness of the candy given by his daughter to his heart. Dad, I've already called Master Hui Guang. He will arrive in the afternoon. Tang Yunfeng saw Tanggua's appearance and said with a smile, "Don't worry, Dad will keep his promise." The Summit. Chapter 22:19. Tang Yunfeng's decision was too sudden in the eyes of outsiders. He gave up such a big family business and actually went to live in a temple on the mountain. This caused many people to guess what was going on. After all, in their opinion, Tang Yunfeng's health had always been good, and he looked much younger than his peers. It had been many years since Tang Yunfeng's heart surgery, and very few people knew about it. Basically, for someone like him who had such a big family business, even if he suddenly fell ill, it was impossible for him to leave the family business to his future son-in-law. Even if Enchanting's ability was good and was admired by many people, they still couldn't figure it out. Didn't he just fall into a coma once? He was going to the mountain to recuperate. He had just left the hospital and had directly asked someone to send him up the mountain. Tang Yunfeng was now living in the temple on the top of the mountain. Hui Guang had specially asked someone to build a small courtyard. It wasn't big, but the location was very quiet, and everything was arranged very well. Tang Yunfeng only left a personal assistant to take care of him. The others sent him up that day and returned to their posts to continue serving the family Tang manor. After Enchanting returned, he became busy. He didn't expect that Tang Yunfeng would just leave the company to him. As for the shares, he really didn't think about it now. He was still immersed in Tang Yunfeng's trust in him. At this time, Enchanting was full of enthusiasm. In his heart, he said that he must manage the company well and absolutely not let Tang Yunfeng down. With the legendary Tang Yunfeng in front of him, Enchanting was careful in everything he did. Any decision was only implemented after repeated affirmation. At first, everyone was afraid that he wouldn't be able to handle it. Later, they found that this young man was really good and admired him. On this day, after Enchanting finished his work, he heard from his assistant that Tang Guo was here. He was stunned for a moment, and quickly walked out of the office to the lounge. He saw Tang Guo sitting by the window with a white cat in her arms. "Xiao Guo, why are you here? Have you had lunch?" Enchanting walked over quickly, and glanced at the white cat on Tang Guo's lap. Xiao Guo seemed to like this white cat very much, and would take it everywhere. Enchanting didn't care about this. "She has already eaten." Su Qing chimed in from the side. "Miss already had lunch a long time ago. She just thought that young Master Qin has been too busy recently, and didn't care about her health, so she specially asked the chef to make some delicious food, and send it over." At this time, Enchanting noticed the 2 thermos boxes on the table, and felt a little warm in his heart. "Thank you." Of course, he was happy that someone cared about him when he was busy. "You can just ask someone to send food over. I wanted to bring it to you personally." Enchanting was caught off guard by Tang Guo's pure gaze. He felt a little guilty. He squeezed the insulated box tightly. Actually, no matter what, he was still using her to some extent. Actually, after being together for so many years, he really didn't have that kind of love for her. That little bit of good feeling in his heart didn't seem to be love. But for his own purposes, and because he thought that it would be good to spend the rest of his life with her, he didn't think too deeply about it. He didn't think that everyone in this world would get love. At least, he didn't think that he would. While eating delicious food, Enchanting chatted with Tang Guo. Actually, the 2 of them didn't have much in common. Enchanting only wanted to make achievements and show his ability in the company. The peak. Chapter 2220. Therefore, he basically didn't have any personal hobbies. Even when it came to things like eating, he felt that as long as it could enter his mouth and let his body absorb the nutrients, it was fine. After Enchanting finished his meal, Tang Guo said a few words of concern, and asked Su Qing to push her away. Basically, she would come to help Enchanting deliver food every day. When Enchanting was free, she would stay in the office and chat with him for a while before leaving with a smile. This made everyone in the company know that the little princess of family Tang had a very good relationship with her fiancé. This news told them that when they were older, marriage was only a matter of time. What they didn't know was that Tang Guo didn't come every day to care about Enchanting's health at all. Nor did she come specifically to deliver food to him. Instead, she wanted to appear in the eyes of the public, and let everyone understand that the person who was truly infatuated was her, the miss of family Tang, and not Enchanting. Enchanting used to do nothing. He ignored his wife at home, and acted as if he didn't get close to women outside. Everyone said that he was a person who was infatuated with his wife wholeheartedly, and created the image of a perfect husband for himself. So the first thing she wanted to destroy was this illusion, and let everyone see clearly who was the most infatuated person. Tang Guo came to deliver lunch every day without fail. Unless Enchanting had to go out for a meeting or abroad to discuss matters, she wouldn't come over. Even so, she would count the time, and call the company to ask if Enchanting had arrived at the company. Occasionally, she would count the time, and call Enchanting's assistant, and tell him to take good care of Enchanting. He couldn't be like his father, who didn't care about his health for work. Tang Guo's communication with everyone in the company was not to inquire about Enchanting's whereabouts. She was just concerned about his health, and was afraid that he would be too tired. In just 3 months, she became the person who liked Enchanting wholeheartedly in the eyes of everyone in the company. Now the rumors had changed. Enchanting was really lucky. First, he met someone like Tang Yunfeng, who recognized talent. Then, he met someone like the little princess of family Tang, who liked him wholeheartedly. In this life, Enchanting was a lucky person in everyone's eyes. The system conveyed the outside world's words to Tang Guo. After she heard it, she was very satisfied. It was worth it for her to deliver food to Enchanting every day to show that she liked him. Every time she acted out a certain character's actions, she would instantly immerse herself in it. Almost no one could tell if she was real or not. It was fake to her, but it was real to the character she was playing. Therefore, in everyone's eyes it was true. Time passed very quickly, like a white steed galloping past before his eyes. When Tang Guo was 25 years old, some people talked about when she and Enchanting would get married. Enchanting now managed the company in an orderly manner. Everyone thought that he was now worthy of the little princess of the family Tang group. Therefore, they were still looking forward to their wedding. As for Tang Yunfeng, although he had faded from the public eye, his legend had never disappeared. Countless people admired him and learned from him. In the face of this matter, Enchanting also hesitated for a moment. In fact, he was not looking forward to marriage. In his heart, he even had a feeling that this was good. But Tang Guo was 25 this year, and he was 28. If he showed that he didn't want to get married, then he would be letting her down. When Tang Guo heard his words, she said, "Why don't we go up the mountain and ask Dad? Now that Dad's health is much better, he must be involved in such a big matter like marriage." The Peak. Chapter 22-21. When Enchanting heard this, he hurriedly nodded, thinking that this was the case. Speaking of Tang Yunfeng, he also felt that it was a miracle. Who would have thought that Tang Yunfeng would live in the temple for 6 to 7 years? After that he never came down. Moreover, after he managed the company, although he didn't have any shares, Tang Yunfeng really didn't ask about it at all. This kind of trust really made Enchanting's blood boil. Thinking about it this way, if after going up the mountain, Uncle Tang wanted him to marry Xiaogua, he could still accept it. There was nothing difficult about it. Moreover, Xiaogua was a very good person. Living with her, although it wasn't grand, at least it was peaceful and warm. At night, Tang Guo leaned against the window and muttered, "Master Huiguang, I'm sorry, I have to make you a dream again." "System, you're sorry, but you still do it?" However, he thought that Master Huiguang would be very happy to dream about this kind of magical dream. That night, Tang Guo used the teleportation talisman to sneak into Master Huiguang's room and made him a dream. This was because she guessed that Enchanting's performance in the past 7 years might have moved Tang Yunfeng. This time, he would most likely agree to their marriage. If they were already married when they came, then it would be fine. Now that they weren't married, she definitely didn't want to marry Enchanting. There was no need for that. Therefore, she could only create a dream for Master Huiguang. She did not say anything else. She said that with Enchanting's fate, he could not get married before the age of 30. Whoever married him before the age of 30 would be unlucky and bring bad luck to his wife. He himself would not suffer any harm, but his wife would suffer all kinds of calamities because of this. Tang Yunfeng treated her as a treasure and believed in Master Huiguang's words. He definitely wouldn't agree to marriage. When Enchanting was 30 years old, he would probably have something to do with the female lead. Even if he didn't, he would find another reason. Marriage? It was impossible to get married. The next day, the two of them went up the mountain to see Tang Yunfeng, and directly went to the small courtyard where Tang Yunfeng lived. At that time, Tang Yunfeng was sitting under a tree, playing chess with himself. He looked very relaxed. His face was very red. When he saw Tang Guo and Enchanting come, his mood became even better. He hurriedly pulled the two of them to talk. Over the years, both his health and the company managed by Enchanting were getting better and better. Every month, his personal doctor would come up to check on his body, and found that his body was getting better and better. He had already firmly believed in Master Huiguang's words. Back then, the doctor had given up on him, and said that he could live for at most 5 years. Now that so many years had passed, his body was getting better and better. That feeling of relaxation made him feel wonderful. Is there something you need this time? In fact, Tang Yunfeng had already guessed a little. Counting the time, his precious daughter was already 25, and it was time for her to get married. He was very satisfied with Enchanting's performance in the past 7 years. He did not interfere in any of the company's matters, and followed the taboos that Master Huiguang had mentioned. However, he still knew about the company's matters. If they were to get married, he would not object this time. He was living well now, and he was not afraid that Enchanting would not treat his precious daughter well in the future. After Enchanting told him about the marriage, Tang Yunfeng asked Tang Guo again, After knowing that she had no objections, he immediately said, "That's fine." Before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by the sound of hurried footsteps outside. Then, Master Hui Guang ran in with sweat all over his head. He came to the front of the stone table, stared at Qin Ting, and shook his head. "You can't get married before you're 30 years old. The peak." Chapter 22-22. Qin Ting was confused. He knew that Master Hui Guang was famous and capable. It was said that he was an eminent monk. For example, he knew a little about Tang Yinfeng. It was said that he was able to live until now because of Master Hui Guang's persuasion. Although Tang Yinfeng did not manage the company these years, he would donate a lot of money to the temple every year. "Master Hui Guang, why can't I get married before the age of 30? Master Hui Guang said according to the dream, "Your fate is special. You jinx others but not yourself. When you were young, you jinx your family. When you were young, you jinx your wife. Only when you are 30 can you start a family. If you don't abide by this taboo, then whoever marries you will be unlucky. If it's light, they will be injured. If it's heavy, they will lose their lives." When Master Hui Guang said that he jinxed his family when he was young, Qin Ting's heart jumped. Thinking of his parents, why was he the only one who was still alive when something happened to him? He could not help but believe it. On the other hand, Tang Yinfeng completely believed it, and quickly swallowed his previous words. Since Master Hui Guang said so, then wait until you are 30 years old before getting married. Tang Yinfeng did not dare to gamble on the safety of his precious daughter. He was afraid that Qin Ting would think too much, so he told Qin Ting in detail why he would go to the temple on the top of the mountain to recuperate. According to Master Hui Guang's dream, combined with what was happening now, and Qin Ting also remembered that Tang Yinfeng took Tang Gua to the temple many years ago. It was as if he was slowly letting him manage the company. He finally realized that Tang Yinfeng was preparing to go up the mountain. Everything came true and Tang Yinfeng's life was extended. Qin Ting had to believe in Master Hui Guang's dream. In fact, he did not want to get married. He was actually a little hesitant about this marriage, and did not look forward to it. He was a little conflicted in his heart. With Master Hui Guang's dream, it could be considered as solving his problem. After lying down, Tang Gua and Qin Ting were very satisfied. Tang Gua stayed on the top of the mountain, and accompanied Tang Yinfeng for a week, before returning with Su Qing. Of course, the white cat Qiu Qiu was always with her. When she was tired of carrying it, she would give it to her assistant to carry it in a space bag. A few days after she returned to the family Tang manor, the private doctor, who was in charge of her, had to move his family abroad. He would not be able to check on her in the future. After Qin Ting found out, he hired a new private doctor for her at a high price. It was said that he was quite good, and had his own private clinic abroad. Currently, he had also opened one in the country. The high price offered by Qin Ting had moved him. It was Tang Gua's day for a physical examination. Because her body had always been weak, she had to take some medicine regularly. Tang Gua did not try to change her condition. However, she did not expect that the doctor who came today would be so surprising. The private doctor's name was Cui Yan. He was tall and handsome. He wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses and looked gentle. Cui Yan saw that Tang Guo was staring at him in a daze. He smiled faintly and said, "Miss Tang, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" "No." Tang Guo came back to her senses. "Dr. Cui, the medicine I took before are all here. Can you take a look?" Cui Yan nodded. He sat in front of Tang Guo and carefully looked at the medicine bottles. "There are no problems with these medicines. According to my understanding of Miss Tang's physical condition, I still need to confirm it. Miss Tang's complexion looks good. If my guess is correct, you can stop taking some medicine." Peak. Chapter 22-23. After Cui Yan's examination, he told Tang Gua that her health was better than expected, so he helped her reduce some of the drugs. After all drugs had side effects. "Miss Tang, when are you going to get married?" Cui Yan suddenly asked. Even Su Qing on the side felt a little strange. Isn't this new doctor too controlling? While the two of them were confused, Chui Yin explained, because what I want to say might be related to Miss Tang's marriage. What is it about? Tang Guo was silent for a moment before asking. She did change her private doctor, who was also called Chui Yin, but the Chui Yin in the plot was a little different from the Chui Yin in front of her. However, one thing was the same. Chui Yin told the original owner that she couldn't have a child with her physical condition. Not to mention giving birth. It was also a problem whether she could keep her pregnancy. First, her body was weak. Second, it was hereditary. After getting pregnant, she might have a habitual abortion. It was difficult for a man to have a child with this disease. If she had a child, it would be a miracle. Chui Yin said directly. Although it's a little cruel, I have to tell Miss Tang that you can't have a child with your physical condition. You can't even get an egg. Not only is your body weak, but it's also hereditary. That's why I said this matter is related to your marriage. Tang Guo looked very indifferent, but Su Qing's expression changed. She remembered that Tang Yinfeng only had a daughter when he was middle-aged. She vaguely guessed in her heart. So it's about this. Thank you for telling me, Dr. Chui. Seeing that Tang Guo didn't have any reaction, Chui Yin didn't ask more. Instead, he seemed to have expected all this. The weather is good today. Miss Tang, do you want to go to the garden to exercise? Chui Yin had already stood up and walked to Tang Guo's side. He put his hand on the back of her wheelchair and said, I'll push you out for a walk. Okay. Tang Guo didn't refuse. She turned back and said to Su Qing, ask someone to watch Qiu. Don't let it run around. Tang Guo was pushed out by Chui Yin. As soon as they reached the garden, a white ball jumped on Tang Guo. She reached out to hold the ball and smoothed its fur. A smile appeared on her face. Su Qing laughed as well. No matter how soundly Qiu sleeps, it's always the first to run down whenever Miss has any activities. It can even accurately locate Miss's position. What a smart cat. Is this Miss Tang's pet? Chui Yin reached out, intending to touch the white ball. Unexpectedly, Qiu bared its teeth and glared at him fiercely. Its tail straightened, and the hair on its back stood up, looking extremely ferocious. Looks like it doesn't like me that much. Chui Yin retracted his hand indifferently. I hope Miss Tang doesn't mind. I just think it's a little cute. Tang Guo smiled and stroked the white cat. It doesn't know Dr. Chui. It's normal for it to be hostile. The white cat didn't sleep on Tang Guo's lap as usual. Instead, it stared at Chui Yin with vigilant eyes, as if there was a deep hatred between them. Looks like it really hates me. Chui Yin shook his head. I hope that when I come here more often, it will become familiar with me and change its attitude towards me. Chui Yin was also puzzled. Why was the white cat so hostile to him? By the way, Miss Tang, I don't think your cat has been sterilized, right? With that, Tang Guo felt the white cat under her hand stiffen. She smoothed its fur and smiled. Yes, it hasn't been sterilized yet. The top. Chapter 22-24. Miss Tang, I think it's best for the cat to be sterilized. If it doesn't listen and runs out one day, who knows how many stray cats will be created. After Chui Yin said this, he found that the white cat was looking at him more and more fiercely. He smiled and said, I'm sorry, did it understand what I said? After all, this matter is about Qiu. It felt the danger, so it definitely doesn't like Dr. Chui. Tang Guo caressed the white cat's fur and answered casually. The white cat seemed to be more comfortable with her caressing its fur. It buried its head in her lap and half closed its eyes. Chui Yin carefully looked at the white cat, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. These white cats were really strange. They seemed to be very human-like. Perhaps he could find a chance to spend some time alone with this white cat. However, the white cat wasn't important at all. What he was interested in was the woman in the wheelchair, who was stroking the cat. Chui Yin didn't care about the cat. Instead, he pushed Tang Guo for a slow walk in the garden. Tang Guo also let him push her. The system watched from the side for a long time. It had an idea in its mind, but there was no way to confirm it. This person could get so close to its host and talk with her for so long. If it wasn't that guy, it didn't make sense. But if it was that guy, why did it feel that this guy was a little annoying? It was also shameless, but this time, It was a little annoying. And this white cat, although it was a little arrogant, according to its observation, this cat only liked to stay by its host's side. It didn't run out at all, let alone make kittens. Previously, when Enchanting saw that Tangua liked cats, he brought a female cat back. He didn't expect that in just an hour, the female cat would hide in a corner and tremble. It didn't dare to come half a step closer to Tangua. And Tangua didn't have any intention of hugging the new female cat. It was as if the cat she liked was only this white cat. Later, the female cat was brought back by a helper in the manor to be raised. If it stayed in the manor, it might starve to death. The entire manor's territory was occupied by the white cat. It relied on its owner to dominate the manor. No one could do anything about it. It didn't care about other people, and only liked to get close to Tangua. Speaking of Chui Yen, the system was a little uncertain. Host, is this Chui Yen that guy? Why do I feel that he's a little annoying? Why don't I just abandon him for the rest of my life? This character isn't likable. Tangua almost burst out laughing when she heard that. Her little Tongzi actually knew that his character wasn't likable, and even said that he didn't want the other party. It could be seen that little Tongzi's mind was still quite clear. That fellow wasn't cute, and wouldn't speak up for him. When he performs better in his next life, great host, please consider dating him. This guy was so annoying the moment he arrived, and he spoke in such a roundabout manner. He wasn't cute at all. Anyway, he just gave me a feeling that I really didn't like. Dear host, please don't say that I'm a tattletale. I really do have such a feeling. He was a little shameless in the past, but that shamelessness was different from this shamelessness. I can't explain how it's different, but I just don't have a good impression of him. Host, Chio is so cute. Don't listen to Chui Yen, and take him to be sterilized. It's fine if Chio is always disobedient, but he's very obedient, and never goes out to mix with stray cats. He only likes to stick by great host's side. I want to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 22-25. Just because someone said he needed to be sterilized, he had to suffer an unexpected calamity. It's so pitiful just thinking about it. The white cat, Chio, was too obedient. Chui Yen gave the system a bad impression, which was why it said that. I didn't intend to sterilize Chio. If I did, I would have done it long ago. Why wait until now? That Chui Yen is really a jerk. He actually dared to lay his hands on such a cute little animal. I don't care if he's that guy or not. Anyway, I'm very opposed to this relationship. Host, you decide. The system also felt that Tangua didn't seem to like Chui Yen very much, which was why it dared to speak so boldly and directly oppose it. What it couldn't be sure of was that the host was happier when she came to this world. Her energy kept increasing, so it couldn't determine if Chui Yen was that guy or not. Even if he was, it didn't think that he was a good person, because the host's energy didn't increase sharply when she saw him. In many worlds, it could determine if the other party was that guy or not based on the rapid increase in energy. Now the energy was still increasing at a constant rate. Obviously, the host didn't like this guy. However, the host actually allowed him to be alone with her, and even chatted for so long. It was indeed strange. Could the host have other plans? Host, is Chui Yen him? Since he couldn't guess, he could only ask Tangua. Tangua was silent for a while before saying, I can only tell you that Chui Yen has that guy's aura, but it's very faint. Aura? What aura? The aura of the soul. I've always been able to recognize that guy because of his unique soul aura. Of course, there were other reasons. Whether it was that guy or not, she only needed to look at him and judge his soul aura to be able to recognize him. Although Chui Yen in front of her had that guy's soul aura, she was certain that Chui Yen wasn't that guy. Although he was imitating that guy's way of doing things, it was difficult to draw a tiger's bones. No matter how well he acted, it was still a fake inside. It couldn't be real. The same words and the same actions, if done by another person, were really annoying and even a little greasy. She was very curious why Chui Yen had that guy's soul aura. Was it a possession? She lowered her head and kept stroking the soft fur on the white cat's back. This was really interesting. However, with that person's strength, he was actually possessed by Chui Yan. Was that person careless? Or was there some other reason? Or was Chui Yan's strength on par with that person? Then who was that person? Why did he take over Chui Yan's body and approach her? I heard that Miss Tang likes painting very much. Chui Yan's voice woke Tanggua up. She replied calmly, "Yes, I like it. Today's weather is nice. Do you want to draw now?" Tanggua stroked Qiuqiu, who was lying on her lap, and smiled. That depends on whether Qiuqiu is in a good mood or not. Is he willing to let me draw him? Chui Yan was a little confused. What did Tanggua's painting have to do with this cat? It was Su Qing who spoke up. Every painting of Miss has Qiuqiu in it. Even if it doesn't show its face, it has to show a snow-white claw. Chui Yan was surprised. Did she love cats to this extent? It was indeed inconceivable that this cat existed in every painting. Tanggua saw that the white cat didn't move and said, "It seems that Qiuqiu is in a bad mood today, so he won't be drawing." She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down. Talking about life, looking for a confidant peak. Chapter 22-26. After Chui Yan left that day, he didn't come again. After all, he was only a private doctor. He usually came once a week or half a month. Moreover, if Tanggua needed anything, she would call him directly and ask him to rush over. No matter when and what he was doing, he had to be there. In this way, Chui Yan maintained the frequency of coming to the manor, once every half a month and twice a month. Every time after he helped Tanggua check her body, he would push her to the garden for a walk or something. He didn't do anything out of line, but there was a hint of intimacy in his words. Tanggua didn't seem to know, and was indifferent to him. Every time, the white cat would fall asleep on her lap. 2 years passed in a hurry. The white cat didn't feel close to Chui Yan at all. Every time it looked at him, its eyes were full of hostility. On this day, Tanggua was taking an afternoon nap in the garden. Chui Yan found an excuse to come over and deliver medicine to Tanggua. Hearing that Tanggua was taking an afternoon nap, he didn't want to disturb her. Instead, he asked Su Qing, "Is Qiuqiu with her?" "Qiuqiu isn't with Miss at the moment. It should have found a place to sleep," Su Qing said with uncertainty. The white cat was an emperor-level task in the manor. No one dared to provoke it. Miss treasured it very much. "Oh, then I have something to talk to Miss Tang about. Call me when she wakes up." "Okay, Dr. Chui, please." Su Qing wasn't worried about what Chui Yan would do. There were bodyguards everywhere in the manor. Chui Yan went to the garden. Soon, he found the white cat sleeping in a somewhat hidden place. With a smile on his face, he walked to the white cat. He didn't mind dirtying his clothes, and sat on the edge of the flower bed. "After 2 years of observation, I guessed it was you. This time, you didn't seal your memory, did you? You really put in a lot of effort for her. Unfortunately, this time, I was the first one to take over this body. This body is already mine, and your trace of soul power has been devoured by me." The white cat sat up and stared at Chui Yan without blinking. Chui Yan pushed up his glasses. "Are you angry? You didn't think that you would have a day like this. Although she will definitely be angry when she remembers this day in the future. At least I can spend the rest of my life with her in this small world as husband and wife. It's worth it, spending the rest of your life with her in this small world, yet you can only watch from the side. It must be very uncomfortable and disgusting, right? I can't defeat you or deal with you outside. But in this small world, I've spent a lot of effort and meticulously planned. Finally, I have a chance to get close to her." Chui Yan reached out to pat the white cat's head. The white cat made a fierce expression. It was obviously fierce, but it was inexplicably cute. Chui Yan was amused. "No wonder she likes you so much. You're quite cute even when you're angry." "Actually, I didn't think that when you realized that you couldn't take back that strand of soul power, and couldn't take over this body, why didn't you just leave? Instead, you chose a cat to live in. Even if she's in another world, she'll still be fine without your company, won't she? Whether it's in the past, present, or future, she won't be unable to live because of someone's departure. even if you're more important in her heart. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down. Talking about life. Looking for a confidant peak. Chapter 22-27. Why did I poke at your sore spot? Speaking of which, you reap what you sow. Are you regretting it now? Alright, I won't talk to you anymore. From now on, you can enjoy the blissful time with me and her. After Cui Yin finished speaking, he realized that the white cat's aggressive manner had suddenly weakened. Its body was even trembling, as if it was very afraid of him. Before Cui Yin could figure out why, he suddenly felt that something was wrong behind him. At this moment, Tangua's voice sounded. Dr. Cui, Su Qing said you were here. I was wondering why I couldn't find you in the living room. So you came to the garden to bully Qiuqiu. When Cui Yin heard this, his expression changed drastically. He subconsciously glared at the white cat, only to see the white cat trembling all over. It immediately ran to Tangua's position and ran directly onto her legs. Its two claws grabbed her clothes forcefully, but it was also very careful not to hurt her skin. That trembling, and especially frightened look was really too realistic. When Cui Yin saw this, he almost cursed out loud. Damn it, this cat was really shameless. Was this even something a human would do? That person was really too shameless. She actually acted out a palace drama in front of him, and even stared at him while trembling and hiding in his arms in fear. This was something only a beast would do. Cui Yin realized that the white cat was looking at him. Its contemptuous gaze seemed to be saying, "So what if I took over your body? I've been with you for 2 years, but you haven't even held my hand, let alone hugging me. You're just a loser." Cui Yin almost fainted from anger. Dr. Cui, I don't know how Qiuqiu offended you. Why did you pick a time when I wasn't around and bullied Qiuqiu in the garden? Look at how scared Qiuqiu is. Cui Yin opened his mouth and wanted to say that the cat was a drama queen. He only said a few words to it and didn't bully it at all. It was all an act. However, would Tangua believe him if he said that? In front of a person she had only known for 2 years, and a cat that had been with her for so many years, she would definitely stand on the cat's side. Now the cat had the upper hand. He understood this woman a little. No matter who he was, as long as it wasn't important enough, and there wasn't enough evidence to prove that the cat was in the wrong, then it could only be his fault. Moreover, if she cared too much about that cat, even if he was right, it would still be wrong. In front of people who didn't care, she was always cold and heartless, not caring at all, which made people love and hate her. Miss Tang, I really didn't bully Qiuqiu. I saw you stare at it just now, Dr. Cui. Am I right? Cui Yin had nothing to say. He just glanced at the cat in Tangua's arms. She still had that kind of contemptuous expression that only he could understand. Shameless. Even if he was living in a cat's body, wasn't he still a human? How could he do such a shameless thing? He was a real man. Couldn't he compete openly? He didn't think about it. If he hadn't schemed against the body that the person was supposed to live in, would the person have lived in a cat's body? Cui Yin had calculated countless times. He only thought that after his careful planning, the person couldn't live in this body, and couldn't find a suitable body for a while. So he would definitely leave this small world first. He never thought that he would simply choose a cat. He thought about how this white cat had slept in Tangua's bed every day for so many years. How shameless. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting role, calm down. Talking about life. Looking for a confidant, the peak. Chapter 22-28. Dr. Cui, you should leave first. In the future, you can just come here once every half a month according to your previous frequency. Tangua hugged the white cat and gently stroked its fur. Her voice was cold and indifferent as she said, "Also, I will have to trouble Dr. Cui not to walk around the manor, so as not to scare my Qiuqiu. As for the examination of my body, you can do it in the front hall. My body is actually very healthy. If Dr. Cui thinks that you are not qualified for this job, you can refuse." Hearing this, Cui Yan's expression changed greatly. Was she trying to chase him away? He had worked hard for 2 years, and finally got close to her. In the end, because of this cat, she was so merciless? The system chuckled. A fake. And an especially annoying fake at that. Luckily, the great host had ignored him out of curiosity, and allowed him to come to the manor. If she had known what he had done and what secrets he had, she would not have wanted to tangle with him. Now that he had provoked the great host's precious Chio, he deserved to be despised. Speaking of which, was that fellow going to appear or not? If that fellow was here, he would not have behaved so badly. He would probably be able to make the host happy, with just a few words. No matter how unwilling Cui Yin was, in order to not anger her, he could only leave with his tail between his legs. Now that he had angered her and knew her temperament, he could only think of other ways. No matter what, he had to be with her for the rest of his life. Even if it was just a small world, he would be satisfied. Thinking of something, Cui Yin smiled again. If he helped her solve her problem, he wondered if her favorability would increase. After Cui Yin left, Tang Gua looked down at the white cat, and finally placed her hand on its head. If that Cui guy dares to be fierce to you again, scratch him as hard as you can. Don't hold back. If you scratch him, I will compensate you for the medical expenses. My family has plenty of money. System, he wants to turn into Chio. Oh, so envious. Being a cat should be a very happy thing. Su Qing. Who is the biggest person in the manor? Not the young mistress, but the young mistress's cat. Who can afford to offend it? From that day onwards, the white cat's treatment in the manor improved by another level. Tang Gua even had the room next door specially renovated into Chio's personal room. Everyone in the manor knew that Chio had a very high status. Not only was it proud, it was also very clean. Even when it went to the toilet, no one was allowed to watch it. Otherwise it would scold them. Even their young mistress was not allowed to watch it. Therefore they came to another conclusion. Although Chio was very fierce, he was very shy. At the same time, something else was happening. What should have happened to the female lead, by Ru Yu, still happened. Something big happened to her family, and she urgently needed a large sum of money to settle it. This time, Tang Gua and Qin Ting were not married. Naturally, there was no need to find a surrogate mother to help the female lead. The female lead was still unwilling to agree to the suggestion of her superior relative. She said that she would think of a way to marry the greasy and old boss. After returning to this big city, the desperate Bai Ruyu finally thought of a solution. It was something she didn't want to do, but had to do. She had heard that on certain occasions, a woman's virginity could be sold. Someone introduced her to such occasions, and she planned to use this method to obtain a sum of money. At the very least, after obtaining money, she wouldn't have to stay by that kind of person's side. She could also solve her family's problem. However, just as the matter was about to happen, Bai Ruyu regretted it. She took advantage of the fact that the other party was in the bathroom to escape. However, that person was also a wily old fox. He had already spiked her wine. In a daze, she bumped into Qin Ting's room. Thus the two main characters finally met. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 22-29. Perhaps Bai Ruyu was lucky, but Qin Ting drank a lot because of the banquet. There was even a woman who wanted to hit on him and drugged him. In the end, the woman helped Qin Ting out of the banquet and sent him back to his hotel room. When she was about to make a move, Qin Ting suddenly sobered up and chased the woman out. This was also why Bai Ruyu could easily open the door and come in. The woman left in a panic and even forgot to close the door. Qin Ting had been managing the family Tang company for 10 years. Although the all-powerful Tang Yunfeng's reputation was still there, because he hadn't shown up in public for 10 years. Other than the old people, the younger generation rarely talked about him. They didn't even know his story, because Qin Ting had been managing the company. Even though Tang Gua often showed up in the company, Qin Ting's reputation became that of a man who was wholeheartedly loved by the princess of the family Tang, instead of him being infatuated with her. Since the two of them got engaged, they hadn't gotten married yet. In fact, many people were secretly guessing in their hearts. Did Enchanting think that Tangua wasn't worthy of him? After all, Tangua's physical condition had been known for many years. Her legs were disabled, and her body wasn't good. As for getting pregnant and having children, that was even more impossible. Although many people envied Enchanting for his current achievements, they also secretly felt pity for him. Such an outstanding person could only be tied to a disabled person for the rest of his life. Of course, these were the thoughts of the younger generation. As for the older generation, they clearly understood that if Enchanting really did something to betray Tangua, then he would really be scolded as a heartless person. But the reality was that with Enchanting's ability, people would indeed think that Tangua wasn't worthy of him, and would feel pity for him. Even if he really did something to betray her, at most, outsiders would just scold him. What could they do to him? Until now, Tang Yunfeng was still alive. The older generation guessed that even if Enchanting didn't want to marry Tangua, he wouldn't dare to do anything. After all, the majority of the company's shares were still with Tang Yunfeng. Once he did something, the first one to leave would be him. It wasn't that Enchanting hadn't heard such gossip before. It had been 10 years. In the beginning, he was grateful for Tang Yunfeng's appreciation of him. Now he was also grateful. He had never thought of breaking his promise and letting Tangua down. However, the rumors in the outside world still made him uncomfortable. He had worked hard for the family Tang's company for 10 years and had contributed a lot. If Tang Yunfeng really wasn't satisfied with him in the future, he could just ask him to leave, and his 10 years of hard work would be wasted. Everyone would give up, and people like Enchanting were even more so. How could Enchanting, who was used to being in control, suddenly find that his fate was still in the hands of others? Therefore, after thinking it through, Enchanting had been secretly developing his own forces. This was also why he was still so diligent in attending various business cocktail parties, in order to find a trustworthy partner. He definitely couldn't be the one to secretly develop his influence. If word got out, it would affect the entire company. However, he could secretly use the company's resources to help his own forces develop. He just didn't expect that the woman outside would be so bold as to put medicine in his wine. Fortunately, he was clear-headed and drove her away. However, what he didn't expect was that another person had broken into the room. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about crossover. Female supporting character calm down. Talking about life, looking for a confidant the summit. Chapter 2230. When Enchanting was hugged by a woman whose body was boiling hot, he subconsciously wanted to push her away. However, she clung to his body like an octopus. In addition, he wasn't in a good condition, so he wasn't able to push her away. He lowered his head to look at her. The woman's face was red, and she seemed to be in a daze. Seeing this, how could he not understand? This woman had probably fallen for the same trick as him. Enchanting was still thinking when the woman who was clinging to him started to move her small hands around him. Even though Enchanting wanted to reject her, he didn't know why he didn't reject her in the end. What should have happened, and what shouldn't have happened had happened. It was late at night, and it was still raining. Enchanting and Bai Ruyu had already fallen into a deep sleep. At this moment, they seemed to have forgotten where they were. Tangua didn't sleep. She hugged the white cat and sat by the window. She looked at the pitter-patter of the rain outside. The system's voice rang in her ears. Host, the male and female leads have successfully met. What a coincidence. They were both drugged. Then they successfully got together? That's right. Host, you really have godlike foresight. Lord Plotline is indeed powerful. You were able to get them together, even under such circumstances. Speaking of which, the woman who put the drug in Enchanting's wine was coldly rejected and chased out. She was actually much better looking than Bai Ruyu. Why was Enchanting able to reject that woman, but not Bai Ruyu? I'm not Enchanting. How would I know? Alright, that's right. Keep an eye on Enchanting's private collaboration. If there's a chance, get involved. Forget it, you can directly get involved. You must control the majority of the profits. I have a lot of money in my account. When the time comes, If he needs any investment, you can just invest. When I'm unhappy, you can help me withdraw my investment." The system shuddered in response. It clicked its tongue in its heart. "Host, you're really evil. What do you mean when you're unhappy? You obviously want to directly withdraw your investment when Enchanting's new company is at a crucial point. You want to mess with him. In any case, you want him to be unable to develop." The system went silent. Tangwa stroked the white cat on her leg. The white cat didn't seem to be asleep. It was lying on her leg with its eyes half closed. "Chio, you've lived for almost 15 years. I heard that the lifespan of cats and dogs is at most 20 years. Tangwa held the white cat's two paws, her beautiful eyes staring into the white cat's amber eyes. "If only your lifespan was as long as a human's." System. "Dear host, can't you just let it eat 2 life extension pills? You can even change a person's lifespan. It's just a cat. It's a piece of cake." The corners of Tangwa's lips curled up slightly, and she rubbed the white cat's face. "I'm discussing with Chio. Perhaps it can't bear to part with me, and can live for a few more years by itself?" The system didn't understand. What did a cat know? This white cat was smart and obedient. It didn't cause any trouble, or cause any trouble. But was lifespan something that could be controlled by others? Wasn't this a little too much? "Chio, you have to live longer. If your lifespan is too short, and I don't have you by my side in the future, I can only buy a litter of cats to raise." The system burst out laughing. Was its host crazy? Bullying that fellow was one thing, but now she was bullying a cat. "I want to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration." Female supporting character, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 2231. The system wanted to say, "What does a cat know? Even if you threaten it, it doesn't know what you're talking about. You even want to raise a litter of cats. Chio, do you think the British Shorthair is prettier or the blue cat? Although you're old and you're shedding fur, causing Su Qing to clamor about carrying you out every day, I don't want to consider a hairless cat." The system was speechless. It really wanted to say, "Cats don't understand." Unexpectedly, the white cat hugged Tangwa's hand with its 2 paws and stared at her with its bright eyes. Even the system could discern its emotions from those amber eyes. It seemed to be saying that it could live for a long time and stay by her side. She didn't want to buy a litter of cats to raise. It must be seeing a ghost. He had never heard of a monster becoming a spirit in this world. After that night, the system discovered something. The white cat that was originally domineering became even more domineering. Wherever Tangwa went, it would follow. It stuck to her side all the time. It didn't even go to its favorite activity, basking in the sun. In short, Tangwa couldn't leave its sight for too long. When Tangwa was in the bathroom, it would sit outside and guard. It wouldn't do anything but stare at the door. When Tangwa called Su Qing in and brought her out, it would still slowly walk beside her. The people in the manor were used to it. It was said that cats were clingy. Since the young miss treated Chio so well, it was normal for it to stick to her. Speaking of which, when Enchanting and Ryua woke up, Enchanting was vexed and panicked when he saw the scene in front of him. Why couldn't he control himself last night? He actually had such a thing with a strange woman. The first person he thought of was Tangwa. She was the woman who brought him lunch every time he was in the company. They were engaged 10 years ago. He had a fiancée. How could he do such a thing? After thinking about this, Enchanting didn't care about Ryua anymore. He just thought of a way to hide this matter with a sullen face. He wouldn't let anyone know about this mistake. Thus, when he looked at Ryua, his gaze was sinister, causing the shyness in Ryu's heart to dissipate. She pinched the bedsheets with a pale face. She regretted it yesterday. She didn't expect that person to be so evil as to drug her wine. She vaguely remembered that she had accidentally barged into this room. When she saw that good-looking man, she had hugged him without even thinking. Anyway, she regretted it and didn't want to do it again. But now that she was riding a tiger, it was hard to get off. She had to find someone to solve it. Since God had let her meet this man who looked good, perhaps it was because she was pitiful and wanted to help her. At least she wouldn't be at a disadvantage if she spent a night with this man. As for the matters at home, she already had a sense of propriety. At worst, she would return to her hometown and agree to marry that boss. Thinking about this, Bai Ruyu's heart turned to ashes. At the same time, she felt the other party's gloomy gaze. She cursed in her heart and hurriedly said, "Sorry, I'll leave right away." "Wait a minute." Enchanting only glanced at Bai Ruyue before he made a call and asked someone to check Bai Ruyue's identity. Actually, the main purpose was to check if she had any difficulties recently. After mingling in the business world for so many years, he was the best at grasping other people's weaknesses. When he found out that Bai Ruyue's family really had a big matter and needed a large sum of money, Enchanting heaved a sigh of relief. Something that could be done with money wasn't a big matter at all. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 2232. As for the matter of Bai Ruyu selling her virginity, because that place involved many people with status, Bai Ruyu didn't use her real name. If one didn't investigate carefully, they wouldn't be able to find out. Enchanting naturally didn't know about this matter, and only thought that Bai Ruyu had been careless. Now that she lacked money, he would give her a sum of money and send her away. She would never come to the city again. When Bai Ruyu received the check, she felt humiliated. Just as she was about to tear the check and throw it at this person, Enchanting's cold words were heard. "You should be lacking money now. Without this sum of money, you will have to marry someone you don't want to marry. I advise you to keep it." Bai Ruyu's tears immediately flowed out. She felt extremely wronged, but she didn't tear the check. "What do you mean by giving me this?" Bai Ruyu thought about many things. Could it be that this man didn't want to let her go and wanted to keep her? That little bit of good impression he had of her also vanished in an instant. However, Enchanting's following words stunned Bai Ruyu. "I want you to take this 1 million and leave the city immediately. Disappear and never appear in front of me again. Nothing happened yesterday or today. We have never met. That's it? Can you do it?" Enchanting's dangerous gaze landed on Bai Ruyu's face. He didn't have any protective feelings for the fairer sex. "If you can't do it, I can help you change the method." He had 10,000 ways to prevent an ordinary woman from appearing in front of him and not letting anyone know about this matter. Bai Ruyu's body trembled in fright when she saw his cold and vicious gaze. She thought about how she had slept with a man who looked fierce but was quite good-looking. She felt wronged and humiliated in her heart. However, she really needed this sum of money. She gritted her teeth and nodded. "All right, I'll disappear from your sight immediately." Enchanting lit a cigarette and said calmly, "I hope you can do it. If you dare to appear in front of me again, not only you, but also the people you care about won't have an easy time." "I know. Don't worry. I will never appear in front of you again." Bai Ruyu was also a little angry. With tears in her eyes, she gripped the check tightly. If she could, she wanted to tear it apart in front of him, put on her clothes, and run out of the door. When Enchanting found out that Bai Ruyu had immediately gone to the train station to buy a ticket back to her hometown, his heart relaxed. He asked someone to bring him a clean set of clothes. After making sure that there were no traces on his body, he returned to the manor. As soon as he stepped into the manor, he saw Tangwa sitting at the door with the white cat in her arms. "Brother Enchanting, why didn't you come back last night? I'm sorry for making you worry." Enchanting walked over quickly. He felt a little guilty, but he had been in the business world for 10 years. Even if he felt guilty, he could lie without batting an eyelid. However, he would subconsciously make some subtle movements to cover up his guilty conscience. Enchanting squatted by Tangwa's side and asked, "Have you eaten breakfast?" He stretched out his hand to touch the white cat on Tangwa's leg. He didn't expect to receive a fierce gaze. The white cat only looked at him with contempt before hiding in Tangwa's embrace. It seemed to dislike him a lot, causing Enchanting to feel a little awkward. "I want to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration." Female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 2233. Brother Ting, have you forgotten that other than me, no one else can touch Chiu? Tangwa said strangely. Looks like you were busy last night and forgot. When he heard the first sentence, Ting's heart leapt into his throat. Even if he lied, he could keep a straight face, but some things were done. If he let her down, he let her down. You could fool everyone, but you couldn't fool yourself. When he heard Tangwa say that he had been busy all night, he breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that she thought he had been busy for the company all night. Little did he know that Tangwa knew the truth. She had been busy all night, because of some unspeakable matter. Brother Ting, you also have to take care of your body. Some things shouldn't be overdone. System. This is the only time I'll do it, host. Tangwa. Oh, I forgot. Of course, what Ting heard was that Tangwa wanted him to not work too hard, and not care about his body. His previous discomfort lessened a lot. He glanced at the white cat on Tangwa's lap, and saw that it was staring at him with contempt. He was already used to it. This cat was very smart, and was Tangwa's favorite pet. It didn't like him, because it was afraid that he would steal its owner. How could he know the reasons behind this? He thought that he had concealed this matter perfectly, but how could he have known that Tangwa already knew everything? His clean clothes, some water stains on the side of his hair, and the faint fragrance on his body. One could tell at a glance that it was the scent of shower gel. He came back from overtime, but instead of washing up at home, he came back after washing up? Besides, if he had really been busy all night, he would definitely look tired. Ting, on the other hand, looked pretty good. While Ting was eating, Tangwa suddenly asked, Brother Ting, did you wash up before coming back? Ting's body stiffened for a moment, but his expression didn't change as he nodded. Yes, because I had to meet a client for a very urgent matter. I found a random hotel to wash up, and got someone to buy me a set of clean clothes. Oh, how is it? Then you must rest well after eating. Ting secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He no longer had any appetite for the originally delicious meal. After a few bites, he said that he wanted to go back to his room to rest for a while. Tangwa didn't say anything else. It was fine to scare him once in a while. Now that something had happened between him and Bai Ruyue, he didn't know if their child was still in Bai Ruyue's womb. She was looking forward to what would happen next. Before that, he mustn't scare Ting. If he was scared, how could he continue playing? Tangwa pursed her lips into a smile. She looked so pure and sweet. Who would have thought that she was thinking about some bad things? A month later, the system told Tangwa a piece of good news. Bai Ruyue was really pregnant. Bai Ruyue's family needed a huge sum of 600,000 yuan. After paying off this huge sum of money, Bai Ruyue originally wanted to find a job locally, go on blind dates like ordinary people, get married, have children, and live the rest of her life. Although she was a little resentful towards Ting in her heart, she also knew that she could not afford to offend him. Besides, it was all thanks to this money, so she stayed in this small county with a complicated heart. However, she didn't expect that a month later, she would find that something was wrong with her body. Her period didn't come on time. She thought of something and bought a pregnancy test kit. She found out that she was pregnant. I want to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 2234. At that time, she was in a panic and had planned to abort the child. After the examination, she laid down on the operating table and remembered that she was about to lose a child. She instantly regretted it and rushed out of the operating table. In the end, Bai Ruyue decided to give birth to the child and raise it herself. It was her child after all. She really couldn't bear to part with it. In addition, she still had some money left. It should be enough to raise a child in this small county. Moreover, it wasn't like she didn't have a job. However, Bai Ruyue, who was pregnant before marriage, had a group of extreme relatives. Her life wasn't easy. Even her parents, who had always treated her amiably, had some complaints about her. She had no choice but to rent a house and live in peace. With her education, it was easy for her to find a job. However, The salary in a small county wasn't high. When she returned to the county, she found a job. However, the company didn't expect that Bai Ruyu would get pregnant before marriage. A woman who got pregnant before marriage was easily talked about by others. Bai Ruyu slowly got used to the outside world's attention. Every day, she looked forward to the birth of her child. It would bring a different color to her life. Her imagination was beautiful. After giving birth to the child, Bai Ruyu had to work during the day. Even if the work was easy, she still had to go to work on time. At night, she had to be tortured by the child. However, she felt that this was a sweet burden. She wouldn't disturb the child because of this. She only felt that the child was an angel given to her by the heavens. For the sake of the child, she had left work early several times. This made the company unhappy. The company didn't dare to fire Bai Ruyu. After all, this kind of thing could only be settled with complaints. The company didn't have the right to do so. They could only think of other ways to pressure Bai Ruyu. Bai Ruyu had some money, so she didn't panic. However, she felt that the company was too much. In the end, she fired the company and planned to focus on raising the child for a while. The days passed slowly like this. As for Tangua, Ting would still send her lunch when he was at the company. However, after knowing that Bai Ruyu was pregnant, she added something to the meal. It wasn't something fatal. It was just a drug that could temporarily make a person infertile. She had obtained this from her interstellar friend Emmanuel. It was said that it could suppress the activity of the sperm. It wouldn't have any health effects on the human body. If a person continuously used this drug for a month, they wouldn't be able to have children for 10 years. After 10 years, the essence would slowly become active again. Moreover, because it had been suppressed for too long, its activity would be greatly enhanced. If she wanted to have a child, it would be super easy. Hey, Emmanuel, I should have told you before, right? Our interstellar technology is very powerful, and people can awaken different levels of spiritual power. Only with strong spiritual power would one be able to control a mech in battle. If he couldn't awaken any spiritual power, he would be considered a cripple in the interstellar. The lifespan of interstellar humans is very long to begin with. In addition, we also have genetic modification and medicine that can increase our lifespan. However, there's also a flaw. It's not easy for us to get pregnant. After taking it for a year, it would suppress the activity of the sperm. After more than 100 years, it would be the best time to give birth to offspring. After hearing the explanation, Tangua was also a little surprised. Today, Tangua saw Ting's tired expression and suggested, "Brother Ting, I think you should go to the hospital for a full body checkup. I'm a bit worried." "System, you're too bad." The white cat in Tangua's arms couldn't help but raise its head to glance at her. Then it looked at Ting with eyes full of sympathy and pity. Finally, it rubbed its head against her body, enjoying being stroked by her. "I want to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration." Female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant. Chapter 2235. Ting didn't have any doubts about Tangua's suggestion. He only thought that he had been too busy recently and hadn't taken care of his body, which made Tangua very worried about him. Although Tang Yunfeng was alive and well now, Tangua probably still remembered that he suddenly fell into a coma more than 10 years ago. "Okay, don't worry. I'll find time to check it out." "Brother Ting, you're so busy every day. You have to take care of your body. Don't tire your body out because of work." "Got it." Ting felt a little warm in his heart and a little guilty. He was already over 30 years old. He was already thinking about whether he should find a time to talk to Tang Yunfeng about marrying Xiaogua. After so many years, he felt that it was not bad to have a person like Tangua by his side. She didn't cause him any trouble, and she wasn't as suspicious as many women. She also didn't have a missy's temper. He was now developing his own power in private. He had been so busy recently because of his own power. With this, he had the confidence to talk to Tangua about marriage, and was no longer so resistant. Even though Tang Yunfeng had done him a favor, Helping others to manage the company always made him feel like he was living under someone else's roof. It didn't feel good. With his own company, no matter what he did, he would no longer be restrained. He wouldn't be unable to survive in the company without Family Tang in the future. In short, he still preferred to control his own fate in his own hands. Of course, he didn't do this to fall out with Family Tang. Enchanting felt that it was indeed necessary for Tang Guo to ask him to have a physical examination. He had been too busy and tired recently. It was good to have a physical examination. The hospital Enchanting went to was under Family Tang's name. With Tang Guo's secret instructions, the doctor really did a very comprehensive physical examination for Enchanting. He checked all aspects. In the final physical examination report, all aspects were very normal. The only thing that made the doctor slightly hesitant was one thing. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Enchanting felt the doctor's hesitation and had a bad feeling in his heart. "What's wrong? Mr. Qin, your body is very healthy, but there's something." "What?" He was healthy, but what was it that made the doctor hesitate and not even dare to tell him? This made Enchanting feel worse and worse. His mind instantly thought of many possibilities. The doctor pushed up his glasses. "I've seen a lot of cases like this before, but I've never seen one as serious as Mr. Qin's. This illness wouldn't affect Mr. Qin's health, but it would affect Mr. Qin's progeny. In short, it's not easy for Mr. Qin to impregnate women." Enchanting's mind exploded. Not easy to make a woman pregnant. Before he could come back to his senses, the doctor couldn't help but ask in a low voice, "Excuse me, is Mr. Qin okay in that area?" Enchanting reacted and instantly recalled that night with Bai Ruyu. He said with certainty, "Everything else is fine." His voice was a little dry. Whether he liked children or not was one thing, but whether he could have children was another. Because of Tang Guo's situation, he had already decided that she might not have any children in the future. Now that he knew that he had such a rare disease, he felt uncomfortable. Can this disease be cured? Enchanting had a trace of hope in his heart. Actually, in his heart, he still wanted to have a child. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about. Chapter 2236. Even if Tang Guo wasn't able to get pregnant and have a child, the world's medical science was quite advanced. Weren't there other methods? Now that he had a fundamental problem, it meant that he wouldn't be able to have a child no matter what. The doctor shook his head. "I can't cure this illness, at least not for now. Mr. Qin, don't be upset. Although your activity level is very low, or even non-existent, there are many fortuitous encounters in this world." After hesitating for a moment, the doctor continued. This time his voice was softer. "Actually, Mr. Tang also has this illness." For the sake of Miss Tang, Mr. Tang put in a lot of effort back then. In the end, a miracle finally happened. Enchanting was stunned. "Uncle Tang has this illness?" "Yes, it's the same illness." Of course, the doctor didn't say that Tang Yunfeng's condition was slightly better. At least he was more active, and his survival rate was higher. As for Enchanting, he basically couldn't find anyone who could survive. It seemed like there was basically no one, but he couldn't say anything definite. It was good to give Enchanting some hope, and let him slowly accept this matter. "I understand." Enchanting dispelled the idea of seeking treatment everywhere, because he later consulted many famous doctors. They all said that there was no solution for this situation, and that he could only hope for a miracle. His problem was purely a genetic problem. The current medical science hadn't reached the stage where it could improve human genes. Enchanting naturally didn't tell Tang Guo that his body had this problem. At this moment, he didn't have any resistance to marrying Tang Guo. He thought that he might as well live like this for the rest of his life. After defeating his enemy, he would live a normal life with her. As for Bai Ruyu, who suddenly appeared, he had already thrown her to the back of his mind. He thought that woman wouldn't be able to cause any trouble. When Enchanting brought up the matter of marriage and wanted to meet Tang Yunfeng, Tang Guo didn't object. Agreeing didn't mean that this marriage would happen. Enchanting's biological son should be a few years old now. That child was very smart and matured early. If Enchanting didn't meet before their wedding day, she would create an opportunity for them to meet. She didn't know what Enchanting would think of this son who suddenly appeared. Thinking of this, the corners of Tang Guo's lips curled up into a smile. It will definitely be very interesting. This time, Tang Guo and Enchanting went up the mountain to see Tang Yunfeng to discuss their marriage. Master Hui Guang didn't say anything to stop them. Tang Yunfeng made up his mind and agreed to their marriage. Enchanting pondered for a moment and felt that he was still a little busy this year, so he set the wedding date for next year. His excuse was that he needed to prepare for the wedding. Tang Yunfeng didn't say anything. He was happy to see Enchanting being so serious. As for the matter of Enchanting secretly starting a company, he actually knew about it. Although he had some grudges in his heart, he also understood Enchanting's thoughts as a man. As long as the other party didn't act recklessly, he would turn a blind eye to it. Tang Guo saw that Tang Yunfeng was enjoying his retirement and laughed in her heart. "Dad, I'm afraid you won't be able to take care of him. It will be very lively in a few days." Enchanting went down the mountain that day, while Tang Guo still chose to stay on the mountain for 2 days. Tang Yunfeng glanced at the cat on Tang Guo's leg and couldn't help but reach out to pet it. The white cat didn't avoid him and allowed him to pet its head. "Qiu Qiu has lived for almost 20 years, right? It doesn't seem to have any signs of aging. This is really a good thing," Tang Yunfeng said happily. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 2237. At first, I was worried that you cared so much about Qiu Qiu. Cats and dogs only have a lifespan of 20 years at most. I was afraid that you would be sad if Qiu Qiu was gone in the future. Tang Yunfeng stroked the white cat again and found that its fur was brighter than before. Its eyes were still staring at him with bright eyes. It really didn't look old at all, as if it was a cat in its prime. Looking at Qiu Qiu, I'm afraid it can still live for a few decades. Under normal circumstances, when a cat lived for 6 or 7 years, its movements would start to slow down, and it would basically be sleepy all day. At 10 years, its fur would not be as bright as before. It would sleep more than when it was awake. Perhaps there would be problems with its teeth. Its body couldn't keep up in all aspects. It basically didn't have much activity. But Qiu Qiu was different. It should be said that it was more energetic than before. Tang Yunfeng thought that he must have done a lot of good deeds and donated a lot of money. Before he moved in, he also asked people to set up the Tang Guo Charity Foundation, which was dedicated to helping those with disabilities. If a lot of money could be exchanged for such an obedient cat like Qiu Qiu to accompany his daughter, Tang Yunfeng felt that it was worth it. There was another person who was also very happy. Naturally, it was Master Hui Guang. In the past 10 years, Tang Yunfeng had donated a lot of money to him. He had used it to do a lot of things. And Tang Yunfeng's charity foundation had also benefited countless people. In addition to Tang Yunfeng's example, there were now more than 20 rich businessmen living in his temple. Although they weren't like Tang Yunfeng, who stayed for 10 years, they would come and stay every year. Later, there were also a few retired rich businessmen who chose to retire here. They even built houses in the back of the mountain. Not only did it not trouble them, but it also brought them a lot of convenience. At least when the road below was broken, these rich businessmen would discuss and pay to fix it. The road was getting better and better. Every year, they would donate a lot of money to them. Master Hui Guang also hoped that these people could live a long life, so he tried his best to provide them with a place with beautiful scenery. Around the temple, many green vegetables were planted. They were all natural and provided for these rich businessmen to eat for free. Really, after living here for a while, these people looked much better. They seemed to have lost a lot of weight, but their bodies were also healthy. Their beer bellies were gone, and all of them were glowing. Under such circumstances, the rich businessmen all believed that if they lived here and did charity at the same time, they could really live a long life. Enchanting is indeed a very capable young man, Tang Yunfeng said calmly. If that hadn't happened, No matter how capable he was, Dad wouldn't have considered him. Xiaogua, don't be unhappy with Dad's words. In Dad's heart, no matter how outstanding Ting is, if he doesn't love my daughter enough, he won't be worthy of you. It's just that you like him. System, it's fake. Host, you would rather like the cat in your arms than that cheating man Ting. Dad, what do you want to say? Tanggua asked. Tang Yinfeng did not answer. Instead, she asked, are you really willing to marry Ting? Of course, Tanggua couldn't say no, even though she couldn't get married. Do you know that Ting started a company outside? Dad didn't want to tell you about this, but I wanted you to know more about him. Dad can understand this. A man is always ambitious. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting lead, calm down. Talking about life. Looking for a confidant peak. Chapter 2238. Speaking of which, he has contributed so much to the company conscientiously. As long as he doesn't go overboard, Dad will pretend that he didn't see anything. I'm telling you this so that you can be more careful, even if you like this person a lot. Do you still remember why Ting came to Family Tang? Tanggua nodded. I remember. Ting's opponent should be very strong, and from what I see, he wants to develop his business in secret and attack his enemy in the dark. Over the years, he has fought with the other party countless times, but it was in the name of Family Tang Company to compete in business. He probably can't hold back anymore, and thinks that this is not enough. This is also why Dad didn't pay attention to him. As long as he doesn't bring losses to the company, he can do whatever he wants. Of course, he had his own selfish motives. Ting had his own company, so if the other party attacked his enemy, he might be using his own power and influence, and the impact on Family Tang Company would be small. In fact, he already thought that his daughter did not need to marry. With his body, he still had a long life ahead of him, and could take good care of his baby. But Ting was not wrong. His daughter liked him, so there seemed to be no reason to object. Besides, the enemy who harmed Family Tang had not appeared yet, so he still had to stay on the mountain. Dad, I understand, Tanggua said with a smile. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing and won't let myself be taken advantage of. Tang Yunfeng nodded and suddenly turned his gaze to Qiuqiu. Didn't I hear that Qiuqiu doesn't like to be touched by others? Originally, Su Qing could still touch Qiuqiu, but later, Su Qing couldn't touch it anymore. Tang Yunfeng stroked the white cat's head and chuckled. Why is it so obedient in front of me? No wonder you like it. Because you're my dad. Of course, Qiuqiu has to be more obedient in front of you. Tanggua's lips curved. Her hand landed on the white cat's back and gently stroked its fur. Qiuqiu only cares about people who are pleasing to the eye. Dad is the person closest to me. How can it ignore Dad? Then this cat is very human. No wonder Xiaogua likes it so much. I heard that he even remodeled the room next door for it. That's right. Qiuqiu is so noble. How can he sleep in a cat's nest? Tang Yinfeng found that the cat's tail was unknowingly raised, and its ears were moving. He was surprised to find that the cat's eyes actually showed some satisfaction. It was really funny and magical. This cat really understood humans. That was good too. With such a spiritual creature by his daughter's side, she would be happier. After staying for 2 days, Tanggua went down the mountain and returned to the manor. Her life was peaceful again. What was different was that Ting had already announced to the public that he and Tanggua would be getting married next year. Because of the status of the two, this matter was still discussed by many people in the outside world. Even some ordinary people knew that Ting was going to marry Miss Family Tang. In today's era of big data, people like Ting and Tanggua getting married would definitely be talked about by all kinds of people. In particular, Ting's status, ability, and appearance, as well as Tanggua's situation, were all topics of discussion. The media did not dare to report anything carelessly, but the people on the internet loved to talk about it. There were still countless people who found it a pity that such an outstanding man like Ting would marry a woman with a disabled leg. Immediately after, someone dug out that Ting had nothing and was taken in by Tang Yunfeng to be groomed. I want to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down. Talking about life, looking for a confidant peak. Chapter 2239. Tangwa didn't care about the discussions on the internet, and didn't bother with them. Qin Ting didn't seem to care either. Ever since he found out about his body's condition, he didn't think that he had any advantage in front of Tangwa. He thought that he might as well just go with the flow for the rest of his life. Until now, his feelings for Tangwa were more of a habit. There weren't many feelings between a man and a woman. Is Miss Tang going to marry Mr. Qin? Cui Yin suddenly asked when he came to check on Tangwa's body. He was a little upset about this. A few years ago, he had ordered a woman to seduce Qin Ting. As long as she succeeded and took some photos, Qin Ting would be eliminated from Tangwa's heart. He didn't expect that woman to fail. Qin Ting was indeed this world's son of destiny. Even under such circumstances, he was still able to reject such a beautiful woman. Fortunately, the female lead came to him and successfully got together with Qin Ting. Although he didn't get the photos he wanted, he ordered someone to keep an eye on by Ruyu. She was indeed pregnant. In the end, she didn't abort the child. With such obvious evidence, he didn't need to do anything. Cui Yin believed that after he got rid of Qin Ting, he and Tang Guo would slowly get along with each other. They would definitely be together. Didn't things develop like this between her and that person? He didn't dare to force her or rush her. He also didn't dare to be too aggressive. Otherwise, it might backfire. Even if it was that person, once he did something wrong and gave her a bad impression, he might not have a good ending. Thinking back to when he met her in the Rubik's Cube world, and was personally dealt with by her, it could be seen that she wasn't a soft-hearted person. Later, he carefully reflected and analyzed it. He felt that his method was wrong. He was too jealous of the way they got along. He also wanted to see if he could use that person's identity to be with her for the rest of his life. He believed that he would succeed. After all, his disguise was perfect. She shouldn't have noticed. If they found out, they would definitely catch him and find out his secret. Cui Yin didn't know that from the moment they met, he had been exposed under Tanggua's nose. When Tanggua heard Cui Yan's words, she asked, "Dr. Cui, what do you mean? Don't you agree with my marriage with Brother Qin Ting? Brother Qin Ting and I were engaged more than 10 years ago. It's been a long time since we got married." Of course, Cui Yin didn't believe that she wanted to get married. She probably had some plans. He didn't dare to do anything. After all, he was acting as that person. That's not what I mean. Then what does Dr. Cui mean? Do you think that Brother Qin Ting and I are not suitable? When he finished speaking, he suddenly heard footsteps behind him. He knew that something was wrong. Then he heard Qin Ting's cold voice. "Dr. Cui, I don't know what you're dissatisfied with. You're actually trying to drive a wedge between my fiancé and me?" Even if Qin Ting didn't like Tanggua, they were engaged and would get married next year. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down. Talking about life, looking for confidants. Chapter 2240. He had always been satisfied with Cui Yin as his personal doctor. He didn't expect that Cui Yin would do such an outrageous thing. "Brother Qin Ting, don't worry. I don't believe Dr. Cui's words. We're getting married next year. I won't listen to him and be dissatisfied with you. I'm most satisfied with you." Cui Yin subconsciously wanted to say, "Keep bragging. You're satisfied with Qin Ting. You can't wait for Qin Ting to be unlucky and die. It would be best if Bai Ruyue carried her son out at the wedding and let the child point at Qin Ting and call him father. The wedding would be out of control. Then, she would stand in the corner and watch this farce with a faint smile." Cui Yin took a deep breath. This woman had changed so much. But even if she had changed a lot, she was still bad when it was time to be bad. She was always so cold and heartless to people she didn't care about. She didn't give anyone a trace of hope. She was so heartless that he wanted to kill her many times, but he really couldn't. I'm sorry, Xiaogua. I was too careless. Qin Ting touched Tangua's head and said in a low voice, if I were more careful, I wouldn't have let such a Tom, Dick, and Harry hang around you. No matter what, she was his future wife. Qin Ting couldn't give her any chance. He stood up and glanced at Cui Yin coldly. Dr. Cui, you don't have to come anymore. You've been fired. I don't need to tell you the reason, right? Cui Yin didn't look at Qin Ting. Instead, he looked at Tangua subconsciously as if asking, do you really want me to leave? He even looked aggrieved. Tangua almost lost her cool. If it was Xian Air who was acting like this, it would be really awkward and funny. She gently stroked the white cat that was sleeping on her lap and looked up. Dr. Cui, you should leave. You're always trying to drive a wedge between me and Brother Qin Ting. Now Brother Qin Ting has realized that I can't protect you. Between my fiancé and a private doctor, of course I would choose my fiancé. Cui Yin was almost angered to death. This was a little different from what he thought. He was acting according to that person's character. But why was the result always not what he wanted? Could it be that something went wrong that made her dislike him? Inadvertently, he glanced at the cat in Tangua's arms, and remembered that he had been tricked by the cat in the garden a few years ago. Since then, Tangua had not been very close to him. So, was it because of this shameless person that she had such a bad impression of him? Dr. Cui, please don't look at my cat with those fierce eyes. Qiuqiu is scared. Cui Yin was awakened by Tangua's words. He found that the cat's claws were tightly grabbing onto Tangua's clothes and burrowing into her arms, as if he had really done something bad and scared it. Cui Yin cursed inwardly. He had been tricked by that shameless guy again. If not for the fact that there was no special power in this world, he would have thought of a way to deal with this cat. Even a person like him had to abide by the rules in a small world like this. Otherwise, it would be easy for the world to collapse, and that wouldn't be fun. This guy who had turned into a cat couldn't speak, and couldn't transform into a human. He couldn't hurt Tangua's cat. If she found out, they probably couldn't be friends anymore. But he was really unwilling. That guy had turned into a cat, but he could still be so close to her, and repeatedly checkmated him. In the end, Cui Yin left unwillingly. There was still a long way to go, and he would have a chance to get close to her. Thinking of that cat, Cui Yan's face darkened as he walked out of the manor. He had to find a chance to deal with it. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting character, calm down. Talking about life. Looking for a confidant peek. Chapter 2241. That Cui guy has already been chased away. Are you happy now? Tangua smiled as she pinched the white cat's ears. She then placed her hand on its neck and gently pinched it. The white cat narrowed its eyes and leaned against her comfortably. It seemed to be enjoying herself. Do you know that spirits are not allowed after the country is founded? If you continue to be so dramatic in the future, be careful that you don't get dissected by a research institute. The system thought to itself, is the host treating this cat too well? She even teased it by saying that spirits are not allowed after the country is founded. Without Cui Yan's disturbance, Tangua's days were very enjoyable. In the past half a year, Qin Ting had been doing very well in all aspects. Although he would occasionally think that he might not have children, and his heart was a little complicated, his own company was thriving. No matter what, it was a happy thing. Bai Ruyu's days were not as good. After she had resigned in a fit of anger, it was indeed easy for her to raise a child with the money she had left. However, she couldn't really cut ties with her family. Although her parents were cowardly, they really loved her. She couldn't continue to ignore her family. Although she didn't move back, she couldn't ignore her family's matters. Her parents seemed to like Bai Yanji a lot. She didn't think of bringing this child to find his biological father. This child was very smart. Even though he was only a few years old, he would occasionally ask her who his father was. It was a good thing that a child was smart, but he was too smart. Bai Ruyu's mood was a bit complicated. If she didn't give such a smart child a good education, wouldn't she hold him back? She thought that it might be, because that man's genes were too good, that this child was so smart. Thus, she would definitely have to spend a lot of money to raise this child. The money she had left after repaying her debt wasn't enough. Previously, when she saw that this child liked to play with computers, she gritted her teeth and bought a 30,000 yuan computer for him to play with. When the child was a year old, she taught him how to read. Even though he was only a few years old, he could already read most of the words. Bai Ruyu stared blankly at the little hand that was sitting in front of the computer. "Mom, what are you thinking about?" Bai Ruyu caressed Bai Yanji's small head and smiled. "Mummy is thinking of a school for Yanji. Mummy's Yanji is so smart, he should definitely go to a good school." She was certain that her son was a genius. An ordinary school was not suitable for him at all. It would be best if he went to a school for geniuses. However, even if Bai Yanji's IQ was high enough, and he was valued by the school, he would still need to spend money on various aspects. Then why is Mom frowning? Is it because we don't have enough money? Recently, Bai Yanji often saw Bai Ruyu talking about money. Naturally, he could guess what she was talking about. Bai Ruyu caressed his head. "You're so smart. But you don't have to worry. Mother will think of a way to send Yanji to the best school." A few days after the mother and son ended their conversation, Bai Yanji pulled Bai Ruyu and asked her to buy a few lottery tickets based on the numbers he had written down. Bai Ruyu didn't think too much about it. She spent a few hundred yuan to make her son happy. She did not expect that the number that Bai Yanji had written for her would actually win the prize. Not only did she win the prize, but she also won tens of thousands of yuan. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 2242. Bai Ruyu thought that her son was gifted and lucky. That was why she was able to win the lottery with just a string of numbers. Later on, every time she was short of money, Bai Yanji would ask her to buy a lottery ticket. Because the winning amount was not large, and it was also bought online, the type of lottery ticket was different every time, so it did not attract much attention. When Bai Ruyu had money, Bai Yanji had reached the age to go to school. Now that they had money, Bai Ruyu prepared to bring Bai Yanji to a certain school for a test. It was also because she used to know a lot of people that she knew about this school. Once selected, her son would definitely receive the best training. Perhaps fate was predestined. In this city, Bai Ruyu brought Bai Yanji to meet Enchanting. The reason why Enchanting came here was that next door to the Genius Academy was a school for the disabled. This school was built with the support of the Tanggua Charity Foundation established by Tang Yinfeng. Almost every year, Enchanting would bring Tanggua to the school to interact with the disabled children. The children here all liked Tanggua. Perhaps because they were the same type of people, they were closer to her. They understood that it was all because of this beautiful big sister in front of them that they were able to achieve what they had today. They liked and were grateful to her. When Tanggua was pushed out of the car, Bai Ruyu was holding Bai Yanji's hand and getting out of a taxi. Enchanting pushed Tanggua's wheelchair, and the few of them walked side by side. Because Tanggua's legs were inconvenient, Bai Ruyu subconsciously held Bai Yanji's hand and moved aside. She didn't expect to see Enchanting when she raised her head inadvertently. At that moment, her body turned cold and she stumbled and fell. Tanggua had already seen Bai Ruyu. How could she let go of such a good opportunity? "Su Qing, go and help her up. See if she's hurt." Tanggua lowered her head. The white cat was still lying on her lap. She didn't know when, but everyone knew that wherever she went, the cat would be there. Almost to the extent that it wouldn't leave her side for even an inch. Bai Ruyu was helped up by Su Qing. Bai Yanji clutched her sleeves tightly with a worried expression, causing Bai Ruyu's heart to ache. "I'm fine. Did you scare Yanji?" Of course, Bai Ruyu was scared when she saw Enchanting. Enchanting didn't recognize Bai Ruyu immediately. After all, he had only seen her once. Although something that shouldn't have happened had happened, he was still angry at that time and didn't notice her appearance. Bairuyue heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that Enchanting didn't recognize her. After thanking Tangua, she quickly brought Bai Yanji into the school next door. That child is quite cute. Xiaogua, do you like children? I don't know. After all, I don't have any. Tangua's voice reached Bairuyue's ears, causing her to quicken her pace. Does Brother Enchanting like children? Enchanting did not know how to answer this question. Brother Enchanting, do you want a child? Brother Enchanting, if you don't want to get married. Enchanting hurriedly interrupted Tangua's words. What are you thinking about? The child is not that important to me. The guilty Enchanting didn't want to expose his weakness. If others knew about it, he would inevitably become a laughingstock. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration. Female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life. Find a confidant. Peak. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.